Hello. So today is Sunday, the 21st of March, which is crazy that it's already um, pretty much almost April now. But today I wanted to talk a bit about ambitions and aspirations, um, and kind of how it relates to what I'm doing now, what I've done in the past, and what comes in the future. I I wanted to talk about this today because I was thinking back, and 10 years ago, um, something happened. I was over in China. This is exactly 10 years ago in March 2011. In March, I was in China on a school exchange trip, and this was big because it was the first time a primary school had done an exchange program in the UK with China. So it was kind of big at the time. Um, and here's a picture of me there in China. Went to the city of Changsha. Very interesting, and I'll talk about a bit about that later. But anyway, a few months later, we did a presentation when we came back to kind of the school and a bunch of journalists, and there was a picture of me in the local paper there. Um, and at the time, I was asked by a journalist, which makes me sound really big, that I wasn't. Um, I was asked by a journalist, what did I want to do in 10 years' time? Or, what did I want my job to be? And at the time, I had no ambition of going to university. I don't think that was really in my mind at the time. I didn't really understand what university was. So, but at the time, it was I wanted to be a skydiving instructor. One of those people that kind of attaches onto um, learners and jumps out of planes and teaches them how to skydive. And I think that was quite a stupid ambition at the time, consider my eyesight. But it looked fun, so that's what I wanted to do. Anyway, why I'm talking about this is that it's kind of I was thinking back to that and how my ambitions have changed over the years, and I think after all that happened, going into secondary school, my ambitions kind of turned more to um, kind of the science and mathematics side. There's points where I was kind of interested in the teaching world, which would have been interesting. Um, and there wasn't a lot of change in there. And then when I got to GCSE, that's when, or well, I suppose there was a shift when I did my work experience in year 10. And in 10, for my work experience, I worked at a care home for a bit as an activities coordinator. Um, and I can't quite remember why I chose this. And I think it was because I liked working with people, not for people. I think that's why it was. And I mean, I didn't really have much. This was literally my first experience of being in the world. But I liked working. I like the thought of working with people more than working. I like the thought of working with people more than the thought of working for people. Um, so I did my work experience there, and then going past GCSE, I went to college doing health and social care, and that kind of sprung a number of experiences working in charities, care homes, and schools. So I kind of built up a reservoir of experience in health and social care, education, social care, more specifically disability work, third sector work. And I think from there, I so from college, my first thoughts were either nursing or social work, and then once I kind of considered the idea of university, I came to what I'm doing now, which kind of combines all of what I discussed with my interest of politics and more generally the wider world. And I kind of think about it a lot, but I think, a lot of my interest in the wider world, exploring places, meeting new people, exploring people, I guess, talking to them, talk about experiences, um, came rooted from me being over in China, meeting new people, exploring new places. It's not all, that wasn't the reason I came to uni or anything, but I think I kind of feel like that's kind of where the fire started, as it were, the kind of interest in our wider world, and it grew from there. And I think this is why I've always wanted to do more traveling, or even work abroad, which unfortunately I wasn't able to do for this placement. But I've been able to work in in a diverse community, a very interesting community with different people and all. And I going forward, I mean, at a minute, I talk about a lot in my course how there's the possibilities of me working abroad, doing stuff abroad. There's the idea of me being some kind of aid worker. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. What I'm doing there. But I mean that's quite. A lot of the time we talk about this, how if we were to work it in a developing community, what we would do and how we'd go about it, and we talk about that a lot. And I kind of love thinking about all these ideas of how I could work in different communities, and I think I enjoy that so much because of what I did back then. So yeah, it's also quite mad to think about how that ambition has changed. I don't think and I don't think that ambition I had back then, or aspiration I had back then, was a unwise one either. I chose that because of what I thought would be incredibly fun and interesting, and I'm doing what I'm doing today because of what I'm finding incredibly fun, or I'm doing what I'm doing today because I find it incredibly interesting. So, there's no change there. I'm not sure how that's going to change in the next 10 years. And, I don't know where I'm going to be in the next 10 years, just how I didn't know I was going to be in university. I didn't know I'd be, 10 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be working for a charity on my placement year of university. So it's kind of mad how it's mad there's that connection there, but also the difference as well. So yeah, going forward, I mean, and it's something that I've been trying to explore a lot within the job as well, because originally I was going to do a pizza evening on aspirations and ambitions, and how sometimes our aspirations aren't always just don't always revolve around our careers, but also where we personally want to be in the next 10 years. So do I want to be owning a house? Do I want to be for some young people it might be they want to be driving. For some young people it might be they want to be in a relationship, and I think that it's important to have those kinds of aspirations. So originally I wanted to do a pizza evening on this, but our core group decided that they wanted to do something else, which was perfectly okay. I'll talk about that later on. Yeah, so I I'm trying to think. I've been trying to think about this a lot, and I don't. The thing is, I don't know what career I want, and I've probably said this before, but I know I want to be working. And actually, this relates to what I was saying earlier. I don't want to be working for someone. I want to be working with people, which is the important part of it. I want to be working in the third sector for a charity NGO. It may be, who knows, it may be in the government, it may be in a political party. I just don't know that yet, but I feel that's more working for the people, for people, rather than working for someone, which I want. So I mean I kind of know that from what I want for my career. I don't know, where I want to be in 10 years. Maybe having somewhere to live would be nice, I guess, is always good, making a reasonable living. But I know my basic, the basics of what I want is I want to be. I mean, I guess the basics is having something I enjoy, and not getting tired of. But I want something where I'm having an impact on people, not in a selfish way, but I want to be, I want to be giving people something, because I feel like I have value in that, in multiple different ways. So whether that's in community engagement or what I'm doing now in a charity, working in a political party, whether that's physical or just kind of like online. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be like, but that's kind of what I want. I want to be having a physical impact. Actually, I want to get up my personal statement that I got into university with. Bear with me, because I talk about this a lot in that. And although my ambitions, I hope my ambitions even changed from when I did that, but kind of the thought behind it is still there. So, no. Let's see. Is this it? Yeah. So actually, let me read you the first paragraph of my personal statement. At age 10, I was part of the first exchange trip between the British and Chinese schools. I look back now on a trip that was supposedly meant to tighten relations between countries, and I realise how much we take the international community for granted. So this is kind of me, reflecting back on those moments. Sorry, let me go. Okay, here we are. So this is what I said when I was coming to university. This is my personal statement. I want a career where, on a personal and public level, I can use the skills and knowledge gained through my university course to fight for those who cannot fight and to promote change in the most effective form. The better the change is, the better our lives can be. So I think that kind of reflects well on my overall ambitions, in a sense that I don't know what career I want, but that's all the direction I want to go. I don't want to be working for a multi-million-pound company. I want to be working for a some kind of charity, third sector, NGO, even if that's in a government, if it's in social work or the NHS, or a local government. That's what I want. I want to be affecting change. So more. No, I'll leave that. Yeah, actually, that was really good to look back on. Because I think that does show how my ambition, in a sense, my ambition has always been there, in a sense. And I remember starting this personal statement on very early, so that ambition has all been there for the last 10 years. How I do that, the career I take from that has changed, but my ambition has always been there. And I think my personal feeling on that is positive. I know my kind of direction in life. I can be quite stable from that. It's quite vague, but unlike this is not I'm not downplaying anyone that is in trade, but not like trade where you're doing a specific skill. This is, I want to do something. I want to make change. How that change happens, I don't know yet, but that's what I want. That's what I want for my future, and I'm going to continue doing this, even if it's not my work. Even if that just means volunteering, a few hours a week or whatever. That's always what I want to be doing. Of course, I need to make a living at some point, so I would want to make a career out of this. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what my personal situation will be like in the next 10 years, and I think at the minute it's very hard for me to say what I want my career to be, and it could go in any direction. Honestly, it could go anywhere. And I mean, I'll start exploring this. I mean, yeah, it's something I'm gonna have to start exploring towards the end of this year. How do I jump into that world of work? I've had this experience already. What I'm doing now at my placement, I have past experiences, and those past experiences are already quite fruitful. I have a lot of. It's quite a range of stuff I have there. I mean, one idea that I'm considering is running for one of the elected positions at the union. And I think for me that's both so I can get more experience but importantly to affect change within the university. And importantly, affecting change for me is important on any level. So that's what I want for my future. So yeah, it's really good to have that talk. And again, I don't know what comes in the next 10 years, but affecting change is what I want, essentially. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying. That's one of the original things I wanted to talk in my pizza evening to young people about was ambition is not always about our careers, but it's what we want from our careers. It's what we want from life. So career ambitions and career and aspirations. That's what I wanted to look at originally. Anyway, I'll get on to what replaced that. So we had a meeting, and so actually I'll just explain what's happening now. So the other week we had a Q&A with a professional about COVID-19, the vaccine, sorry. That went really well. I think it could have gone on longer, but for the first try for something is really good. I want to get more people on there. one person in particular is Stephen Morgan, our local MP. Of course, I would want to invite Penny Mordaunt, the um, Portsmouth North MP, as well, but I think Stephen Morgan is more community facing, so I think it'd be easier to get him on. So that'd be really interesting, get him on and kind of expose him to, I have my biases between these two politicians, but it'd be good to expose our young people to politicians. And I think going forward, how can young people, some of our young people can vote, some can't. How can they affect change in their communities? It's basic things like, how do you communicate with your MP? How do you communicate? How do you make change? How do you change the law and all that? And I think there's want for that. So, for example, our next pizza evening is going to be in April, and it's going to be all about the local elections and more generally how we affect change in the law, how laws are made, and that. So that's going to be at the end of April, and that's what we decided on. I can't remember if I mentioned that before. This coming week, I'm also doing a slightly low key event, and it's going to be around e-safety, more generally around kind of scams and fake news and personal data, because I think that's quite important. I think there's sometimes such a big focus on cyberbullying and that, which is really important, of course, but we also need to be looking at fake news and online scams, because these are relatively new things, and for a lot of students with SEND, they're not going to have the opportunity to explore those things. They'll be exploring different things, and this is especially important in COVID times. What else is happening? Let me think. The week after next, we're doing a careers. We're joining into essentially what is a careers fair, which is quite relevant to what I'm talking about now. I guess it's about young people with disabilities exploring their future options, what opportunities are out there. So Dynamite being one of them. Of course, Dynamite is not a kind of end goal. It's just something they can join in on. Yeah, so there's that, and it'd be interesting to see what other employers, other organisations are there, how they present themselves. Do they present themselves as the end goal, or do they present themselves as just something you can tag along, like Dynamite essentially is. Yeah, so that's all that, I think. I feel like that was quite I think that talk went a bit better, I think. I'll leave it there before I start rambling on. I'll try and keep up to date with doing these as well. I feel like I'm doing alright. Again, I do these as I feel necessary, not as yeah. What I want to do is at some point look over like what would be a traditional reflective practice sheet, and I think the university do one. I want to look over what would be a traditional one, and I want to kind of give an answer to what's on it, but also kind of talk about my feelings about the type of questions that are being asked and what might be better for people. I don't know. It's not the quite standard thing most people talk about on here, but I feel like it's relevant and important. The type of reflective practice we do, and for me this is the most effective. For others it will be writing a journal or whatever. I've talked to other people doing their placement, and I think they find writing stuff up each week is a bit tiresome. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's been quite an interesting one for me to talk about. But yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.